Military strategy is a set of ideas implemented by military organizations to pursue desired strategic goals. Derived from the Greek strategos, strategy when it appeared in use during the 18th century, was seen in its narrow sense as the art of the general, the art of arrangement of troops. Military strategy deals with the planning and conduct of campaigns, the movement and disposition of forces, and the deception of the enemy. The father of Western modern strategic study, Karl von Clausewitz, defined military strategy as the employment of battles to gain the end of war. B. H. Liddell Hart's definition put less emphasis on battles, defining strategy as the art of distributing and applying military means to fulfill the ends of policy. Hence, both gave the preeminence to political aims over military goals. Sun Tzu is often considered as the father of Eastern military strategy and has influenced greatly the Chinese, Japanese, Korean and Vietnamese historical and modern war tactics. The Art of War by Sun Tzu grew in popularity and saw practical use in Western society as well. It continues to influence many competitive endeavors in Asia, Europe, and America, including culture, politics, and business, as well as modern warfare. The Eastern military strategy differs from the Western by focusing more on asymmetric warfare and deception. Strategy differs from tactics, in that strategy refers to the employment of all of a nation's military capabilities through high-level and long-term planning, development and procurement to guarantee security or victory. Tactics is the military science employed to secure objectives defined as part of the military strategy, especially the methods whereby men, equipment, aircraft, ships and weapons are employed and directed against an enemy. Fundamentals. Military strategy is the planning and execution of the contest between groups of armed adversaries. Strategy, which is a subdiscipline of warfare and of foreign policy, is a principal tool to secure national interests. It is larger in perspective than military tactics, which involves the disposition and maneuver of units on a particular sea or battlefield, but less broad than grand strategy, otherwise called national strategy, which is the overarching strategy of the largest of organizations such as the nation, state, confederation, or international alliance, and involves using diplomatic, informational, military and economic resources. Military strategy involves using military resources such as people, equipment, and information against the opponent's resources to gain supremacy or reduce the opponent's will to fight. Developed through the precepts of military science. NATO's definition of strategy is, presenting the manner in which military power should be developed and applied to achieve national objectives or those of a group of nations. Strategy may be divided into grand strategy, geopolitical in scope, and military strategy, that converts the geopolitical policy objectives into militarily achievable goals and campaigns. Field Marshal Viscount Alan Brooke, Chief of the Imperial General Staff and co-chairman of the Anglo-US Combined Chiefs of Staff Committee for most of the Second World War, described the art of military strategy as to derive from their policy aim a series of military objectives to be achieved, to assess these objectives as to the military requirements they create, and the preconditions which the achievement of each is likely to necessitate, to measure available and potential resources against the requirements and to chart from this process a coherent pattern of priorities and a rational course of action. Field Marshal Montgomery summed it up thus: strategy is the art of distributing and applying military means, such as armed forces and supplies, to fulfill the ends of policy. Tactics means the dispositions for, and control of, military forces and techniques in actual fighting. Put more shortly, strategy is the art of the conduct of war, tactics the art of fighting. Background: military strategy in the 19th century was still viewed as one of a trivium of arts, or sciences, that govern the conduct of warfare, the others being tactics, the execution of plans and maneuvering of forces in battle, and logistics, the maintenance of an army. The view had prevailed since the Roman times, and the borderline between strategy and tactics at this time was blurred, and sometimes categorization of a decision is a matter of almost personal opinion. Carnot, during the French Revolutionary Wars, thought it simply involved concentration of troops. Strategy and tactics are closely related and exist on the same continuum. Modern thinking places the operational level between them. All deal with distance, time and force, but strategy is large-scale, can endure through years, and is societal, while tactics are small-scale and involve the disposition of fewer elements enduring hours to weeks. Originally, strategy was understood to govern the prelude to a battle, while tactics controlled its execution. However, in the world wars of the 20th century, the distinction between maneuver and battle, strategy and tactics, expanded with the capacity of technology and transit. Tactics that were once the province of a company of cavalry would be applied to a panzer army. It is often said that the art of strategies defines the goals to achieve in a military campaign, while tactics defines the methods to achieve these goals. Strategic goals could be, we want to conquer Area X, or, we want to stop country-wise expansion in world trade in commodity Z, while tactical decisions range from a general statement, e.g., we're going to do this by a naval invasion of the north of country X, we're going to blockade the ports of country Y, to a more specific, C platoon will attack while D platoon provides fire cover. In its purest form, strategy dealt solely with military issues. In earlier societies, a king or political leader was often the same person as the military leader. If he was not, the distance of communication between the political and the military leader was small. But as the need of a professional army grew, the bounds between the politicians and the military came to be recognized. In many cases, it was decided that there was a need for a separation. As French statesman Georges Clemenceau said, war is too important a business to be left to soldiers. This gave rise to the concept of the grand strategy, which encompasses the management of the resources of an entire nation in the conduct of warfare. In the environment of the grand strategy, the military component is largely reduced to operational strategy, the planning and control of large military units such as corps and divisions. As the size and number of the armies grew, and the technology to communicate and control improved, the difference between military strategy and grand strategy shrank. Fundamental to grand strategy is the diplomacy through which a nation might forge alliances or pressure another nation into compliance, thereby achieving victory without resorting to combat. Another element of grand strategy is the management of the post-war peace. As Clausewitz stated, a successful military strategy may be a means to an end, but it is not an end in itself. There are numerous examples in history where victory on the battlefield has not translated into long-term peace, security or tranquility. Principles. Many military strategists have attempted to encapsulate a successful strategy in a set of principles. Sun Tzu defined 13 principles in his The Art of War, while Napoleon listed 115 maxims. American Civil War General Nathan Bedford Forrest had only one. 2. Get there first with the most men. The concepts given as essential in the United States Army Field Manual of Military Operations are objective, offensive, mass, economy of force, maneuver, unity of command, security, surprise, simplicity. According to Green and Armstrong, some strategists assert adhering to the fundamental principles guarantees victory, while others claim war is unpredictable and the general must be flexible in formulating a strategy. Others argue predictability is low, but could be increased if experts were to perceive the situation from both sides in the conflict. Field Marshal Count Helmut von Moltke expressed strategy as a system of ad hoc expedients by which a general must take action while under pressure. These underlying principles of strategy have survived relatively unscathed as the technology of warfare has developed. Strategy must constantly evolve in response to technological advances. A successful strategy from one era tends to remain in favor long after new developments in military weaponry and material have rendered it obsolete. World War I, and to a great extent the American Civil War, saw Napoleonic tactics of offense at all costs, pitted against the defensive power of the trench, machine gun and barbed wire. As a reaction to her World War I experience, France entered World War II with a purely defensive doctrine, epitomized by the impregnable Maginot Line, but only to be completely circumvented by the German Blitzkrieg in the fall of France.